The greatest vulnerability in your life does not stand across from you as an enemy. It sits at your table. It shares your blood. It knows your history. And because you call it family, you lower your guard. You believe love guarantees loyalty. You believe proximity guarantees protection. You believe that those who watched you grow could never weaponize what they know about you. That belief is your first mistake. Human nature does not dissolve inside the walls of a home. Envy does not evaporate at the dinner table. Insecurity does not bow to shared DNA. The same instincts that govern strangers govern relatives. Comparison, pride, fear, ambition, resentment. The difference is access. Family has more of it. Machiavelli understood something most people are too sentimental to admit. Familiarity breeds exposure, as an exposure invites control. The more someone knows about your fears, your ambitions, your weaknesses, the easier it becomes to predict you, influence you, restrain you. This is not a call to paranoia. It is a call to clarity. When you reveal everything about yourself, you do not create intimacy. You create leverage. Those who see clearly recognize that not every truth must be shared. Not every thought deserves air. Not every ambition requires applause. Silence is not secrecy born from fear. It is strategy born from awareness. The few who understand this do not speak less because they are distant. They speak less because they are disciplined. And discipline is the foundation of power. Chapter 2. Your ambition. Never tell your family the full extent of your ambition. Ambition unsettles people, while it exposes the limits of others. When you declare that you intend to rise beyond the environment that shaped you, you unintentionally challenge those who remained comfortable within it. If your vision is larger than theirs, your success becomes a mirror, and mirrors are cruel. They reflect what could have been. You may expect encouragement. What you will often receive is subtle resistance, disguised as concern. Be realistic. Do not aim too high. Be grateful for what you have. These phrases sound protective. In reality, they are mechanisms of containment. When Machiavelli wrote of power, he warned that those closest to a rising figure often fear displacement. Ambition threatens established roles. If you outgrow the narrative your family has assigned to you, the balance shifts. And balance, even if dysfunctional, soon feels safer to many than transformation. Therefore, the disciplined individual learns to move quietly. Work in silence. Build in silence. Let results speak after they are irreversible. Ambition spoken too early invites opinion. Ambition protected by silence invites progress. There is a difference between being supported and being observed. Observation breeds commentary. Commentary breeds doubt. Doubt corrodes execution. The few who understand this principle protect their vision like a flame in a storm. They do not expose it to winds that were never meant to carry it forward. Your ambition is not a group project. It is a private contract between you and your future. Chapter 3. Your weaknesses. Never reveal your deepest weaknesses to those who have emotional access to you. It sounds noble to say, "Oh, I have nothing to hide." But transparency without discernment is self-sabotage. Every human being stores information. Even those who love you unconsciously catalog your fears, your insecurities, your breaking points. In moments of conflict, frustration, or comparison, that information resurfaces. Not always with cruelty, sometimes with subtlety. A comment, a reminder, a reference to a past failure, a look that communicates doubt. Weakness revealed becomes identity assigned. If your family knows you fear failure, they will hesitate to trust you with risk. If they know you struggle with discipline, they will quietly expect inconsistency. If they have seen you emotionally collapse, they will forever measure you against that memory. Perception, once formed, is difficult to erase. This does not mean you must be cold. It means you must be composed. The powerful individual processes weakness privately. He studies it. He strengthens it. He corrects it. He does not broadcast it to an audience that cannot help but reinterpret it through their own insecurities. Machiavellian awareness is not about deception. It is about strategic disclosure. You reveal what strengthens your position. You conceal what can be used to define your limits. The few who rise understand this. Respect is not granted to those who confess every flaw. It is granted to those who demonstrate control. Control over emotion. Control over reaction. Control over narrative. Chapter 4. Your strategy and your silent life. Never share your strategy, your resources, or the full architecture of your private world. People are comfortable with your dreams, as they are comfortable with your struggles. What unsettles them is your method. When others understand exactly how you operate, how you plan, how you invest, how you build networks, how you position yourself, they gain insight into your timing. And timing is power. Information is currency. Even within families, comparison breeds competition. A sibling may smile at your plan while silently measuring it against their own. A relative may offer advice that subtly redirects you away from a path that would elevate you beyond them. It is rarely dramatic. It is often unconscious, but the outcome is the same: interference. Machiavelli wrote that a ruler must learn how not to be good when circumstances demand it. In personal life, this translates into selective opacity. You do not lie. You do not manipulate. Yet you simply withhold unnecessary exposure, your finances, your next move, your calculated risks, your alliances, your internal evolution. These belong to you. There is strength in being underestimated. There is safety in being partially unknown. When people cannot fully map you, they cannot easily restrain you. The disciplined individual cultivates an inner world that is rich, structured, and protected. He does not invite inspection. He invites results. And when results arrive, they speak with authority that requires no explanation. In the end, this is not about distrusting your family. It is about understanding human nature without illusion. You can love deeply and still remain guarded. You can respect others and still maintain boundaries. You can share warmth without surrendering your leverage. And the few who understand this walk through life with quiet intensity. They do not announce their next chapter. They write it. They do not expose every thought. They refine it. They do not seek validation. They cultivate competence. They do not rely on emotional safety. They build internal stability. If you choose this path, your silence will no longer feel like isolation. It will feel like control. Guard your ambition. Guard your weaknesses. Guard your strategy. Guard your becoming. Discipline your words. Strengthen your interior world. Let your growth unfold without constant explanation. In a world that rewards exposure, choose restraint. And remember this final law: power that speaks too freely diminishes itself, and power that moves in silence expands beyond prediction. Ambition is the quiet rebellion that begins inside you long before anyone else notices. It is the moment you realize that the life handed to you is not the life you are meant to remain in. And the instant that realization forms, you become dangerous, not to the world, but to the comfort of those who expect you to stay the same. Never tell your family the full extent of your ambition. The moment you describe the height you intend to reach, you expose the distance between you and them. You reveal that your mind is no longer confined to inherited limits, and that revelation, however subtle, creates tension. Ambition is not just a goal. It is a declaration of departure. When you speak your larger vision aloud, well, you unknowingly challenge the silent agreements that govern your environment. Every family has an unspoken hierarchy. Roles are assigned early. One is the responsible one. One is the emotional one. One is the quiet one. One is the dreamer who never quite executes. The moment you outgrow the role given to you, you disrupt stability. Stability, even when small, feels safe to most people. Your ambition introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty triggers fear. Do not mistake polite smiles for alignment. Do not mistake supportive words for emotional capacity. Many will encourage you in theory, but resist you in reality, because your rise forces them to confront their stagnation. And stagnation resents movement. You may hear caution framed as wisdom. Yet you may receive advice designed to shrink your trajectory into something digestible. Be realistic. Do not risk too much. You already have enough. These statements are rarely malicious. They are protective of a shared comfort zone that your ambition threatens to destroy. The few who see clearly understand this pattern. When you announce your future too early, you invite commentary. Commentary plants doubt. Doubt fractures momentum, and momentum, once broken, is difficult to rebuild. Ambition requires isolation in its early stages. It is fragile before it becomes force. Imagine a flame exposed to wind before it has grown strong enough to withstand resistance. That is your vision when spoken too soon. It flickers under scrutiny. It bends under skepticism. It weakens under the weight of other people's limitations. Silence, in contrast, protects ignition. Machiavellian awareness teaches that power develops in concealment. Strategy matures in quiet observation. Intent becomes unstoppable when it is executed before it is discussed. Those who master themselves understand that ambition is not a topic of conversation. It is a private contract. It is the promise you make in solitude when no applause is available and no reassurance is offered. You do not need validation for what you are building. You need focus. When family members know your entire plan, they unconsciously begin to measure it. They assess its feasibility through their own fears. They analyze it according to their own courage. They project their own ceilings onto your horizon. And ceilings, once suggested, are difficult to ignore. The disciplined individual refuses to inherit invisible limits. He moves differently. He shares selectively. He speaks only when progress has already taken shape. He allows results to arrive fully formed, leaving no space for premature interference. This is not secrecy born of distrust. It is discretion born of strength. There is an emotional cost to being misunderstood in silence. There is discomfort in advancing without public acknowledgement. There is loneliness in carrying a vision that no one else can fully see. But there is also power in it. When you operate without constant external input, your clarity sharpens, your resolve strengthens, your execution becomes precise. You are no longer reacting to opinions. You are responding only to reality. Ambition spoken becomes vulnerable. Yea, ambition executed becomes undeniable. The few who rise above inherited limits understand that their growth cannot be negotiated. It cannot be diluted to preserve comfort. It cannot be explained into acceptance. It must be built. So protect your ambition as if it were sacred. Let it evolve in private. Allow it to mature without commentary. Work until your progress speaks with authority that requires no permission. And when the time comes, do not announce your transformation. Let others observe it. Power does not declare its ascent. It arrives. Your weaknesses are not harmless confessions. They are coordinates to your internal architecture. They reveal where you fracture under pressure, where you hesitate, where you crave reassurance. And once revealed, they cannot be unheard. One, never tell your family the full depth of your weaknesses. You may believe vulnerability builds closeness. In measured form, it can. But unguarded exposure does something far more permanent. It alters perception. And perception, once shaped, becomes the lens through which every future action of yours is interpreted. The moment you describe your fear of failure, they begin to watch you for hesitation. The moment you confess self-doubt, they begin to expect inconsistency. The moment you reveal emotional instability, they begin to anticipate collapse. You may grow stronger. You may evolve beyond that weakness. But memory is stubborn, and families remember who you were long after you have outgrown that version of yourself. Machiavellian clarity is not cruelty. It is awareness of human pattern recognition. People categorize. They simplify. They assign identities to reduce uncertainty. Once they define you by a weakness, they interact with you through it. You are no longer a developing individual. You are the one who struggles. You are the sensitive one. You are the one who cannot handle pressure. Even if spoken kindly, labels become cages. In moments of tension, past confessions return, not always as attacks, sometimes as subtle reminders. I thought you said this stresses you. Are you sure you can handle that? You usually do not respond well to pressure. These statements appear protective, but beneath them lies limitation. Weakness revealed too freely becomes expectation. The disciplined individual understands that growth requires internal processing. When he identifies a flaw within himself, he does not broadcast it. He studies it. He isolates it. He strengthens the area silently until it no longer defines him. He does not seek comfort for every insecurity. He builds resilience. There is a difference between emotional honesty and emotional dependence. The first is controlled. The second hands authority over your self-image to others. Family members, even when loving, are influenced by their own fears. If they sense fragility in you, they may unconsciously attempt to shield you from risk. And in doing so, they reduce your exposure to the very challenges required for growth. Protection becomes restriction. You must understand this clearly. Those closest to you often struggle to update their perception of you. They remember your childhood failures, your adolescent mistakes, your moments of weakness when you lacked control. But you are not that version anymore. If you continuously remind them of your vulnerabilities, you reinforce outdated narratives. Strength does not require you to deny imperfection. It requires you to manage it strategically. The few who elevate themselves do not deny their weaknesses. They confront them in solitude. They transform them into competence before the world has time to solidify them into identity. Silence becomes a forge. In private, you face your fear. You dissect your insecurity. You discipline your emotional reactions. You refine your mind until what once shook you now strengthens you. Then, when others observe you, they see composure instead of confession. Power is not the absence of weakness. It is mastery over its exposure. If you must speak of your struggles, do so with those who are equipped to elevate you, not those who may unconsciously confine you to old definitions. Not every ear is worthy of your internal battles. You are responsible for the image you allow to exist. Guard your emotional fractures while they are still healing. Guard your doubts while they are still dissolving. Guard your internal storms until you have learned to command them. Because once others believe they know where you break, they will always look there first. and the disciplined individual refuses to be predictable in his fragility. He rebuilds in silence. He emerges composed. He becomes unreadable where he was once transparent. That is not distance. That is evolution. The final mistake is the most subtle. It is not your dreams. It is not your weaknesses. It is your method. Never reveal your full strategy to your family. Never expose the architecture of how you move, how you calculate, how you prepare. Because once people understand your method, they understand your timing. And once they understand your timing, they can interfere with it. Strategy is invisible power. When you speak openly about your investments, your alliances, your next transition, your financial positioning, your long-term exits, you remove the fog that protects you. Clarity for them becomes vulnerability for you. Even within families, comparison is constant. It may never be spoken, but it is always present. Who is advancing faster? Who earns more? Who commands more respect? Who is evolving beyond the shared origin? If your strategy becomes visible, it becomes measurable. If it becomes measurable, then it becomes comparable. If it becomes comparable, it becomes threatening. And when something feels threatening, people react, sometimes consciously, often unconsciously. Advice becomes redirection. Concern becomes discouragement. Questions become subtle audits of your confidence. Are you sure this is wise? Why not take a safer option? Why rush? Why risk stability? On the surface, these are reasonable questions. Beneath the surface, they slow momentum. Momentum is fragile. It depends on clarity and uninterrupted execution. The moment you begin defending your path instead of walking it, energy shifts away from progress toward justification. Machiavelli understood that power thrives in partial invisibility. A ruler who reveals every intention invites resistance before he is ready. A strategist who explains every move forfeits the advantage of surprise. You do not owe anyone a blueprint of your ascent. Your finances are not public property. Your calculated risks are not dinner conversation. Your network is not for display. Your inner transformation is not for inspection. There is strength in being partially unknown. When others cannot fully map you, they cannot fully predict you. When they cannot predict you, they cannot position themselves against you, intentionally or unintentionally. Silence creates asymmetry. Asymmetry creates advantage. The disciplined individual cultivates a private dimension of life that is structured, intentional, and protected. He does not lie. He does not fabricate. He simply withholds what does not need to be exposed. He understands that transparency is a privilege earned by alignment, not a default obligation demanded by proximity. Love does not require disclosure of every detail. Respect does not require explanation of every move. Connection does not require surrender of strategy. You can remain warm without becoming exposed. You can remain present without becoming predictable. There will be moments when silence feels isolating. Moments when you are building something no one around you fully understands. Moments when you carry plans that are too advanced for your current environment. That isolation is not weakness. It is incubation. Every transformation begins unseen. Every shift in identity begins privately. The caterpillar does not consult the garden before becoming something else. It withdraws. It restructures. Yet it emerges altered. If it had announced its vulnerability during transformation, it would have been destroyed before completion. You are no different. Guard your timing. Guard your resources. Guard your evolution. Let others see results, not rehearsals. Let them witness outcomes, not deliberations. Let them adjust to your new reality only after it is stable. Because power that speaks too early weakens itself. Power that moves in silence expands beyond resistance. In the end, this is not about distrusting your family. It is about understanding human nature without sentimentality. People love who you are. They struggle when you become someone beyond their expectation. So, rise quietly. Build privately. Strengthen internally. Advance deliberately. And when your life shifts, let it shift completely. In no announcement, no debate, no explanation, only transformation. The few who understand this do not seek validation. They cultivate capability. They do not crave reassurance. They develop certainty. They do not broadcast their assent. They embody it. Discipline your words. Control your exposure. Protect your assent. And remember this final law. What remains unseen cannot be restricted. What remains controlled cannot be manipulated. What remains silent cannot be diminished. Become that silence.